should be live.
Got the note.
He did.
Yeah.
Fade Chris. Fade Charlie. And there we go.
Howdy.
Howdy. Oh, me oh my. So it's
27.
May 27th.
Mm.
Still Chris.
I'm still Charlie. Yeah,
And we're A-balling.
that's right.
Yay. Yay for that.
Yeah. Car's been in the shop now for like 2 months. Coming up on 2 months here.
That
Pretty
blows.
upset. Yeah, it really sucks.
That totally blows.
Yeah.
2
And
months?
It's like this freaking
It's been that long?
April 11th. So
Wow.
in a week. Well, yeah.
Week and a half.
Yeah. Really sad. There's nothing you can do about it. Can't get GM to make a, hey guys, I know you have lots of production issues going on, but make me it's just one part that's missing, and it's the fuse, it's the wiring harness junction block for the engine compartment. $130, whatever. But it's nowhere. I even was calling in Canada. Hey, Crystal. Excitement level is high. Glad us or you. Yeah, but waiting on that for a long time and whatever. The guy's being nice about it. They gave me a loaner. It's not the same.
I gave Crystal a boat for a burrito.
Oh wow, that's a good deal.
Yeah. And
Did it have like?
and $1. A burrito and $1.
Oh wow, and $1 was the $1 for like the registration fees and stuff.
Yes.
Oh, a burrito
no,
and
it
$1.
was
I
it was
see.
the
She
it was
gave
the
me
stated sale price on the title.
Yeah.
But I said,
it was
you know what,
$1.
I want a burrito too.
Yeah.
She said
So
I
look,
can do that.
I'm happy to make this exchange here, but you're gonna have to sweeten the deal.
See, I ain't lying.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. She changed her picture.
Did she?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she did because it wasn't a picture of her before. Yeah.
You know what I want to do real quick? I just need to disingenuous press update. Remember I used to kind of do those every week?
Oh yeah, that's a common recurring theme in our show.
So I'm reading this Yahoo News or Yahoo editorial, whatever, Yahoo article. Yes, you still owe me the burrito. Burrito Supreme, no meat.
Never received a payment.
That's right. I'm getting screwed here.
Yeah. What about the $1? Yeah.
No, she gave me the buck.
Oh,
I
good.
fucked up. She was on her way. I could have asked her to stop at T-Bell
Yeah.
and give me my burrito.
Yeah. That sounds good. No meat. That's a good call. Anyway, go ahead. You're reading this
It is actually.
article.
The meat overpowers it. It's because, and they
No,
kind of double
totally.
up on the
Yeah.
beans, and you can really taste
Yeah.
the sour cream. Anyway,
Oh,
I
I'm not a
digress.
big beans guy.
Um,
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
So I read an article written by this woman, and I thought I recognized the name, and it was. Actually, I have the notes in my phone. She did 2 articles,
Svala Trichinsky.
and one was how vaccinations are disproportionately distributed across race. Then there was another article that COVID disproportionately affects poor people and black people, or people of color, I should say. It's a fucking virus, right?
Yeah.
It picks and chooses weaknesses, and anyway, I won't get into that, which is a whole other conversation. But
Yeah.
so I'm like, I was curious about the credentials of this woman because she looked really young, which, should that matter? I don't know. You get wiser with life, and there didn't seem to be a lot of wisdom. They seem to be really kind of young, woke articles. So I looked it up, and she graduated from college in 2019. And everything in her life was consistent with
5 minutes.
starting college young, so finishing relatively young. So I think, at the max, she's in her mid-20s. Now, here's the kicker. She moved to the United States from Scotland in 2019. She had lived here for one academic year, completing a degree at, I think it was the University of Missouri. Doesn't matter. So she's writing on things that are highly unique to cultural America, like Americana. Getting very deeply into, accusations of, discrimination against people of color, people in terms of job availability, things that are, steeped in information and, again, culture. She's lived here 2 years. And she's young.
That's what I was going to say.
So I don't think, is she wise beyond her years? It doesn't read that way. And she there's no way she gets it in terms of what makes America, tick and not tick. What, right? Why is the clock working? Why is the clock broken? She has no clue. She has no fucking clue. She's just a bandwagon, young. Again, these just had a very aggressive kind of woke tone, and I'm like, how do you know? How can you possibly know? And they were well written.
Like the first thing.
It wasn't like she wasn't, trained and smart.
No, they're articulate, yeah.
But, and I'm like, really? Yahoo's putting her out there?
This is Time. The one that I'm looking at is Time. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and this one's Time Magazine. Charlie, I want to talk about this. It's like an essay a woman wrote, and Time published it. And yeah. I printed off the text.
Oh, wait, are you talking about a different person than this one?
Yes.
Oh, God. Wow, I'm like laughing this whole time.
No, if I had to guess, this woman's 30s, 40s. No.
I was like, that totally doesn't yet. Wow. I'm
yeah,
totally
no.
off.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Stir things up. No, it's okay. Yeah. I'm just picturing. I was like, does this woman have a Scottish accent and she's black? I was like, first of all, that's so cool. Like, I'm jealous of that. A black person with a Scottish accent. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to get that out there. That's my disingenuous press lecture.
It's so much of that, the indoctrination of youth, and part of, I think, the role that the disingenuous press plays in brainwashing America is that Michael Malice calls it the cathedral. It's all these powers working to towards this agenda.
I love that term.
Yeah, the cathedral is great, but
he coined that phrase.
Yes, in his book that you still have, by the way, of mine, but the New Right. It's probably holding up a table somewhere. Somewhere. But
that's here.
Yeah, it's all right.
Did you put it on my kitchen table?
Maybe, I don't know. It's
oh my
it's
gosh,
somewhere there. Yeah.
I thought my mom brought that over.
No, I gave that.
I'm
to
like,
you.
well, Mom, where did
Samson
you get a book by
temple?
Michael Malice? Yeah,
I gave that to you.
I thought she brought it over because she was reading it. She came over one day, and I thought she brought it over to sit on the deck and read.
I think she would be like, if she read that, she'd be like, "What the fuck is gone with America? Like, this is all stuff that's real." Anyway, we're digressing again.
My mom's fascinated by shit like that. Anyway, okay.
Oh well, that's cool. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean that.
One
was
other
not,
thing
in no ways a slight, but yeah.
Yeah. No. One other thing I wanted to touch on. So John Oliver and everybody was raging on Israel, which is kind of like saying kind of the epicenter of Jews in the world are bad people, overreacting, and on and on. And I'm not passing judgment. So now, in the last week or two, and it had been rising, but really, really, really peaked. Anti-Semitism in the United States and across the world is way up.
Yeah.
Well, who the fuck's responsible for that? Everybody that condemned Jews a couple of weeks ago.
And that must be true if what they also say is true is, sorry, I'm trying to do a logical, it's not working. But they say Donald Trump, he called it the China virus and all this stuff, which was totally way less of a, I don't know, saying that the virus comes from China to me isn't like Chinese people brought this, brought this thing to us. They're the reason that God is smiting us with his diseases or whatever. But and everyone's saying, oh, all this anti-Asian American hate right now.
He was talking about a country, right?
Well, now I'm saying if you believe that and you don't believe that, if John Oliver's saying Israel's committing war crimes and they're horrible, this is a horrible thing that's going on, he didn't contribute a little bit towards the anti-Semitism going on. Sorry, go ahead. I kind of just smashed your thing.
No, it's okay. It's fine.
Yeah. Is that where you're going?
You went further, but my point was that, 10 days ago, the press was railing on Israel. Now the press is saying, what's going on with all this anti-Semitism?
Yeah.
Rewind your fucking tape a week and a half, and that's exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
I'm dumbfounded. Me oh my. All right, we're going down rabbit holes. So the thing that Charlie was prepared to talk with me about before I insisted on disingenuous press rants is, what's the name of the article? I didn't print that part of it. I didn't copy it.
Oh, yeah, this is the thing that I commented to and Chris when he sent it to me. It's called Black and Brown People Have Been Protesting for Centuries. It's white people who are responsible for what happens next.
So
a little bit wordy.
This was in Time magazine last summer. And I'm just going to read the first couple of paragraphs. So the first paragraph is just one sentence. I'll just read. How do you know you're white? I'm talking to 100 law students. The room is racially diverse and full of people who have gotten into top law schools. They're committed to making racial equity a cornerstone of their work. They tend to think about race in their daily lives. They've chosen to attend this evening lecture about the problematic ways race is baked into American law and legal pedagogy. But not a single hand goes up to answer my question, and this matters. I often start these talks by asking several volunteers to tell me what race they are. I ask them how they know. Invariably, students of color say things like, I know I'm black because the world tells me every single day. Or, I know I'm Latinx because my family is. It's in my blood. It's in my language. But when I ask white students how they know they're white, the answer is almost always the same. Silence. White students often stop short, unable to identify and articulate the cultural, political, economic, and historical clues that tell them they are part of whiteness, let alone part of being white, let alone what being part of whiteness truly means. I let the silence grow. It grows uncomfortable. And she goes on. But I let the silence grow. It gets uncomfortable. Okay.
I have several thoughts on this, but go ahead.
Well, okay. So the last few sentences really kind of condemn the white kids. And here's the big irony, and then we can get into the weeds about it. So they're right here, she says, the whole group, they're committed to making racial equity a cornerstone of their work. They tend to think about race in their daily lives.
Yeah.
Doesn't that kind of earn them some points?
Well, that's what this whole article is about. Did you read the whole thing?
Oh, yeah. I've read the whole thing 5 times.
Oh yeah, you said that's what this whole article is about, is people who consider themselves to be anti-racist and progressive. I don't know why progressive is like not being a racist. What the hell? Why? Where do we get to this point in the country where you're progressive if you're not like a racist? I don't understand that. Because I'm not a racist, but I don't know. They're two very different things to me.
Hey, well, hang on. I wanna jump in, and so I'm getting away from the article, but Robin DiAngelo postulates that if you're progressive, that's like white
guilt.
fragility, and that's guilt. Yeah, you're actually overcompensating. And she actually says that even if you marry somebody who's of color, you're still racist.
Yeah. You're guilty. You're trying to make up for your whiteness,
And
your white sins.
and I'm like, really? You can't fake loving your kids. I don't know. It's
That's
insane.
what Gavin always says. He's like, he married a Native American woman. He's like, don't even, whatever. She's my wife. Things can happen, but my children are Native American. Like, I love my kids. You know, that's his argument is always that. I think.
Yeah.
Perfect. But anyway, yeah.
They're your offspring. How do you
Yeah.
Robin DiAngelo argues that. It's loopy. Anyway.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And we
So-
beat a dead horse with her, but
Yeah. So this just really gets me in so many ways. So she says
Well-
basically what I do is I blindside a white kid, and then when they're caught off guard, it's just evidence to me, not that they're blindsided and in a room and intimidated to even answer, because we've all been kind of trained that no matter what you say, you get pounced upon, good, bad, or otherwise. Because, like, right, if you have an opinion on racism, well, you're, of course, racist, because how can you be white and have an opinion? If you don't have an opinion, oh, my God, you don't have an opinion? How racist are you? Right? There's no win for
or
winning.
how ignorant. Yeah.
So
Just
silence.
off the top of my head.
I let the
Yeah.
silence grow. It gets uncomfortable. Oh my God, that's cruel. That's fucking cruel. You just said, you acknowledged that they're there to try to make a difference.
Yeah. Well, she goes on to talk about how she's not necessarily. Before we get to that part, here's how my brain is working while I'm reading this, just for the sake of the audience, for Crystal's sake. The room is racially diverse, yada yada yada. Okay, these are top law students. They're into top law schools. They think about race. They're trying to figure it out, and then some law student is getting asked, "How do you know what race you are?" Which is essentially, how do you know what color your skin is? And then they're just like, "Oh my God, I never thought about that before." And like, are these people? I'm not gonna say the R word, but are they dummies? So that, to me, that just seems like fishy. And I said I wasn't gonna say
The white
something,
people?
but
That don't know what to say?
when she says that almost always the answer is silence, to me that's like, how brilliant are these kids, or what kind of law students are these? That doesn't make sense to me, and it seems disingenuous, or maybe she's making that up to make this story sound a little bit nicer. I'm not accusing, but I'm just saying that's what that sounds like to me.
Perhaps.
It's BS. And it's like, and
I didn't
also
think
the other
about that.
possibility is all these kids are thinking, oh shit, if I say something, you guys are gonna get, like you said, it's ridicule either way. And I have an opinion
Right.
or I don't have an opinion. So if I say,
I think
and my
that-
first thought was, oh, go ahead.
No, finish it. Your first thought was?
My first thought was, I know I'm white because freaking you people, and not black people, but people who are obsessed with race and shit, tell me that I'm part of this group that is white. Like, I never considered myself to be a white guy before it was like thrust upon me as like, I
Okay.
think we've talked about this before, but I'm not like, I'm a member of the master race. Like, I'm a white guy. I'm like, I dislike probably most white people. I just don't. I'm not in a race way, but like I just leave me alone. I don't want to talk to most people. I like to
Well,
be in Charlie's own thing.
We did talk about this, and I don't know how we got on it, but I told you that if somebody asked me about white, I would say, well, I don't really,
Identify.
I don't look back on white. I would look back on like Scottish,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is
Oh, yeah.
which is
That's what we talked about.
coincidentally white, and that my dad was first generation offspring, and that there were cool
Yeah.
stories about my grandpa and my great grandfather, and they lived in Glasgow, and they had supermarkets, and they all got to play an instrument, and just cool family stories. Some of which has to do with Scotland, and some doesn't. Uncle Roddy flew fighter planes in the Royal Air Force in World War II, which is kind of neat. Or maybe
That's pretty cool.
might have been World War One. Whatever. Uncle
That's
Roddy
pretty
was,
far back.
yeah, but he was in the Royal Air Force.
The RA.
Yeah, that would have been,
was-
yeah, it would
that's
have been
gotta
World
be
War II. My grandpa's brother. So yeah. But yeah, cool stories. So I mean that's not what I think of in terms of looking back on my heritage. I don't look back on my whiteness. I look back on the only stories I heard were from my dad on my dad's side. My mom
Right,
is
I'm
a little more our immigration goes back further, so there aren't stories. But
Oh,
anyway,
gotcha.
yeah, so that's
Yeah.
what I talked about. Not that I think of
I was gonna
white,
say
I
even
think
more
of
so.
Scottish.
Yeah, and we have talked about that. We totally agree. And I like the Italian thing just because it's whatever. My mom's half Sicilian. That's interesting. But the Scottish thing, yeah, I don't think to go back to my earlier point. I was never like I'm part of this group that is white. Like I hate that whole concept that you're part of whiteness and you're a white. Like, dude, I don't know. It bugs me, and I can't articulate at the moment the particular reason that this whole categorization thing is flawed, but it totally is. And she kind of delves into that in this article for like 2 sentences.
I
And
agree
skips
with
out.
that, and
Yeah.
I can tell you why it bugs me is because it suggests you're part of a group that has already been condemned to be a bunch of bad people.
What about you're condemned to be part of a group that you're condemned to be a part of from birth? Well, maybe not. I guess that's gonna be that's.
No, they go there too. It starts, it's just like inherent, and I don't agree with that. And this is all like evolved into this, like, it's come to this, I don't know. It was going like this, but all of a sudden it shifted, and now we're coming to this pinnacle.
bottleneck. Pinnacle. Oh.
But, so here's the other thing. She accepts these answers. Students of color say things like, I know I'm black because the world tells me every single day. What
Which,
does that mean?
by the way, was my answer.
1, what does that
Go
mean?
ahead.
2, if you said, I know I'm white because the world tells me I'm white every single day, which is very much the case now, you'd get crucified for that answer.
That
They'd
was
be like-
that was my answer. That was
They'd
what
be
I'm
like,
saying,
what
yeah.
kind of answer is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could say,
I'm like, what do
when I'm combing my hair in the morning and I'm looking in the mirror, shaving or whatever, I guess, I don't see a guy who's anything but white.
It's
But it's not like I say,
thought process
hey,
at that time.
hey, white guy,
And my thought process is pretty much similar to this show in the beginning of the show, the introduction, where you say your name and I say I'm Charlie, and then that's pretty much how I associate 90% of the time is I'm me. I'm not white guy. I'm not, I'm Charlie. Is what the hell's wrong with that individualism? Anyway, can I just start my own race? That would be interesting. Oh, that's one for the books. Genghis Khan did it.
What
Anyway.
he did?
Well, they say that he did so much, I'll just say pillaging, to be polite about it, across China and the Mongolians, all them, that he personally altered the gene pool of Mongolia, China, that area, where 25% of men, or not 25% of men, but 25% of people have his DNA.
Oh my
I
God.
don't know if that's BS or something crazy like that. Yeah.
That's pretty egregious.
And maybe now that I'm saying that out loud, that's definitely the stat that I've heard, but I'll have to double check on that.
Or maybe
But
it's
Genghis Khan,
him and his merry band of men. That's pretty gross.
Yeah. Wicked.
Wow. Well, maybe
area.
they were like one particular, area of China that.
Maybe it's just Mongolians, but I don't know. I think they kind of did most of that going on was in China, right? Anyway. But, so he did that. I guess I could do that. Except for maybe more.
I don't suggest that.
Okay.
You're a nice man.
Yeah,
Don't do
I
that.
try to be. Anyway, back to our article. We've gone a little bit tangential here.
It's all right. You know what Genghis Khan makes me think of?
No.
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
I never seen that. I've
Really?
been told to. Yeah.
It's amusing. I
Is
don't
that
know.
time travel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and George Carlin's
I
in
heard it was good.
It was.
Oh, really? That's
Yeah.
cool.
At the time, it was good. And I watched it with my brother, who's highly critical of, like, goofy movies. And he really liked it. So he's my barometer on if my brother likes a silly movie, then
Must be decent.
it's got some teeth to it.
I don't like silly movies at all. Like, I can't watch even The Big Lebowski. I think is so dumb.
It's way
Like Dumb and
different than
Dumber.
that. It's it's Keanu Reeves, and they're like these goofy surfer dudes. Party on, Wayne. Party on,
kinda
Garth.
like-
It's very much like that skit for 2 hours, hour and a half.
Is it like Clerks or whatever?
I don't know what Clerks is.
I've never seen that. Whatever. That's like a famous. I don't know if it's indie or whatever, but that's like.
It's silly. If you don't like silly movies, you won't like it.
I'll check it out. Why not? What else am I gonna do? Genghis Khan makes me think of
I
that
forgot to
movie,
do
Quentin
something.
Tarantino's movie, *Inglourious Bastards*, where
Oh yeah.
they're playing in the basement, and she goes, "Genghis Khan," and she says something in German, but it's funny how she says that in, his name. I never would have guessed that, Genghis Khan, and then she gets shot.
So did we run out of
Spoiler alert,
steam on this time article?
No, I got points, man. We're just like taking tangents. It's
Okay, focus. Let's focus.
Okay, my next thing, her racial terminology, and I'm sorry we didn't read the whole thing, but we can't, we have to.
We can.
time-
I was prepared to.
It's just a little long for the show, but
It'll take 5 minutes, 4 minutes.
yeah, it seems like a lot. But
Let's do it.
She talks about this. I guess we kind of. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So it gets uncomfortable. I let the silence grow. It gets uncomfortable. Then I step in to suggest that this phenomenon, not the individual student, is a significant part of America's problem with race. It's a major part of how we arrive at moments like this one, where dozens of cities are convulsing with racial pain, state violence, and the shell-shocked gaze of many white Americans asking themselves how this can be happening again. Parentheses, it is not a mystery to black people of color. Remember Amy Cooper? She's the white woman who, a few days ago, called police on a bird-watching black man in Central Park and repeatedly emphasized that he was African American, in quotes, to the dispatcher. She may feel like old news now, but her actions are deeply instructive for this new, more convulsive moment. I bet if I asked her the same question, how does she know she's white, she'd respond with the same black silence as many of my progressive, unusually aware students. How do I know? Her apology, which indicated that she doesn't truly understand what it means to be part of whiteness, which means she doesn't understand what it means to be a part of whiteness, period. Critically, she said, I would never have imagined that I would be involved in the type of incident that occurred. And that's just it. In this country, we have thousands of white people who consider themselves aware of the pain racism can cause, who could never imagine themselves inflicting it, but then do. There are countless white people who consider themselves progressive and good, air quotes, on race issues, who scoff at and are offended by actions like Miss Cooper's, but who, to their surprise, are capable of similar actions. Any person of color who knows who, quote, good white people can tell you this is true. It's how we get, for example, progressive colleagues who nevertheless call us by the name of the other black woman we work with repeatedly, or comment on how pretty our hair looks when we wear it straight, saying it's, in quotes, it's usually just so puffy. On the more extreme end of the spectrum, it's how we get cops, people who presumably have dedicated themselves to a life of service, literally suffocating black people like George Floyd as they beg for their lives. It's also how we get these moments repeatedly. One cause of this recurring confusion and the ensuing harm is white people's generally lack of fluency around race, especially their own. White people often don't understand that they are as, quote, raced as any person of color. They can see that a black person, for example, is deeply embedded in what we call race and lives a life impacted at nearly all levels of race. Indeed, this idea is almost axiomatic. But they often can't draw the same conclusion about themselves or white supremacy, which is how they come to be raced in the first place. And they generally don't know what to do with this new knowledge if and when they have an aha moment, except feel guilty and let that guilt push them deeper into silence. That's kind of what we were talking about before. Will Miss Cooper have a true and deep aha moment now or no? If she does, what will she do with it? As a person of color, I'm pessimistic on all counts. There is a grotesqueness and a horror to our racialized world right now. Things have never been great, but the deluge of pain, the torrent of willful blindness amid violence, from the brutally racialized impact of COVID-19 to the fates of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, and others, from the actions of Miss Cooper to the inaction of so many white people, is both deeply chronic and freshly acute. Maybe I see signs of hope amid the horror. I see white people publicly mourning the recent losses of black and brown life, and some progressive white people I know have committed to explore their role in white supremacy through tools like the exercises in this extraordinary book. Whether they will do it remains to be seen. I myself feel brave enough to speak here and now, despite how speaking out has hurt me in the past. Parentheses, losing relationships, hearing racial slurs, etc. I fear, though, that the outcome is predictable. White silence and black pain, perhaps forever, often rooted in good white people's blindness to how they are unwitting agents of white supremacy too, until a critical mass of white people begin to continue work of anti-racism with their own lives, then uprisings and protests will function more as expressions of black and brown pain than as inflection points in the culture. After all, black and brown people have been resisting, uprising, and protesting in this country for centuries. If that were enough, it would have worked already. The missing link is white people doing deep, honest, and ongoing inventories and cleanup of their own relationships to white supremacy. Phrased differently, it is white people, especially progressive white people, who are responsible for what happens now. Either they work to understand and change how white supremacy moves in and through their lives, hearts, minds, and spaces, or they decide they don't have time, they're too scared, they can't deal with it, or, like Miss Cooper, they linger in the fallacy that they could never be involved in a racial incident. Either they accept that they have inherited this house of white supremacy built by their forebears and willed to them, and they are now responsible for paying the taxes on that inheritance, or the status quo continues. I hope they will become radicalized by this moment and begin to fight fiercely for racial justice, but more than that, I hope they start at home in their own minds and hearts. As I tell my students, a white person rushing to do racial justice work without first understanding the impacts, uses, and deceptions of their own whiteness is like an untrained person rushing into the ER to help the nurses and doctors. Therein probably lies more harm than good. I just want to make a comment on that one thing. If there's a crisis and you rush into an ER or whatever and say, how can I help? And you wait until somebody tells you, there's nothing wrong with that. Anyway.
It's That's akin to, at a protest. How can I help? Hold this sign. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know.
Here's the last
I don't
sentence. One thing though, don't ask me how to start. That's part of your work too. The answers are all around you if you're willing to look and listen. It's weird. So she finishes it with a sentence that says, "It's not that tough, guys. Look around and you can help." But then she spends 2 pages, 1,000 words saying, "You don't get it. You'll never get it." It's
You
just
don't get it. You'll never get it. Well,
I
don't think. I think that's and I'm not playing devil's advocate. I'm just in a slight defense of her. I don't think that she was saying you'll never get it. I think she was saying, you need to take the initiative to learn about how this is a problem and you're contributing to it, which I don't necessarily agree with. I think the Miss Cooper thing that she used basically to, what do you call that? Pole vault the rest of the article. That was nice. But I don't think that woman did anything wrong. What the fuck are you talking about? Excuse me for cursing, but she said,
Do you remember
it's an
that?
African-American man. No, I don't.
I heard the 911 call. It was very irrational. She was like afraid of this black guy just for being there. It was totally.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was crazy. She's like, this guy.
I didn't know that.
Yes, I'm afraid. Send the police. I'm afraid. Like, what's he doing? I'm just scared. He's big and black and he's here. It was weird. It was bizarre.
Okay,
But
well,
what's he
that's-
doing? He just by his presence here, I'm afraid. I'm afraid of this African American man. Please send the police. And they sent the cops. And they're like, "What are you doing?" He's
She's
like,
like,
"I'm bird watching." And the whole thing was just fucking bizarre. And the guy was really like, "Really?" And he wasn't arrested or anything, but it was just like I could see that guy like, "Really, lady?" But to me, it's more her like being. I mean, I guess that would be like white fragility. Like he, I mean, he was kind of big, but
That's
he was
just
just
general
doing. He was just
fragility.
doing his thing, and she was there walking her dog. And it's New York. It was Central Park, I think, if I remember right.
Oh, what the fuck? You haven't seen a black guy in Central Park? I've been to Central Park. I know. What
Maybe
the hell?
she's not mentally well. I don't know. It just could have been
that was kind of where my mind went. And even if you're not technically mentally unwell, that's a big.
If you heard the 911 call, and you can probably find it on YouTube, it's bizarre. There's an African American man here. Like, send the police. And we would do that because, but they did.
He's big and scary, and I'm not as scary as him. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
I choked us.
If I were the guy, I would have felt bad. And just not in a. I'd have just felt sorry. Not sorry like for myself, but sorry. Like what the hell?
Yeah,
What's
that's
going
strange.
on? It was weird. It was weird.
Okay, well, then I took that out of context because I didn't know that. I didn't know the surrounding situations involved in that, but so I'll just nix that point then. But
Yeah. Yeah, that's one where it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, either she's got some crazy relationship with, like black people in general that's freaky, and
I just
for
have
what
nothing
it's
wrong.
worth,
What if she's
not
just a dummy?
representative of anybody I know,
Yeah.
or she's mentally unwell, or both, or maybe they're one and the same.
What if she's just a dummy? I don't get it. And she's like, her intuition is bad. God damn. Sorry. Excuse me.
That
I don't
could
know
be.
what's going on. And you're like, this is a woman who says, "I never thought I could have been a part of something right." And it's like, you don't know anything. You just picked a side. It's not like you're even politically involved in that. You just picked one, and you're like, this one sounds good. It starts with a P, progressive. And then, like, I could never be part of racism. And
but
you're
that
like, what is
stands for-
racism?
But that stands for pool.
And we are 8-balling. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Comes
So
full
wait,
circle.
what are some of your? Okay, so now we've read the article. So some more of your points.
Okay, so one of the first things I said to Chris, and by the way, when he was talking about this other woman, I was laughing in the beginning of the show because I thought he meant this article. And that was literally the first thing I said to him was, It's just a bunch of liberal mumbo jumbo thrown in there and wokeism. Like,
Yeah,
it's
that
expounded on itself. And it's
that-
like, what the fuck is this? It's
that
I
would have
blame,
made it.
Yeah,
That would have been crazy irony for sure. There.
yeah.
Yeah, no,
I
no,
was
no.
like, what? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I
This
blame
is
sociology on this.
again
that
just
stupid?
judging from pictures at 30 to 40ish, Black American
Yeah.
woman.
I was like, that's what the hell? I was like, that's exactly what I just said. But I blame the study of the pseudoscience that is sociology. And if you think I'm wrong for calling it a pseudoscience, I disagree with you. But I guess that's inherent. But this whole like everyone doing the most they can do to like figure out what is going on with the cultures, and she uses that term, and it's an inflection or an inflet. What did she say? An inflection point, and it's not a river delta of the. I don't even know, but it's like, lady, this isn't. I'm not reading an article about freaking particle physics. This is pretty normal shit. Hey, black people get along, or don't get along with white people. It's not great. We should all be nice to each other. I think it starts with the individual always. And that's why it bugged me deeply to have to learn sociology in college, because I just didn't agree with the core concept. But it's like gone beyond this thing where all these people who write these kinds of articles and have these theories and everything, it comes down to like a false understanding of human social interaction.
Have you seen the white supremacy pyramid?
No. Oh wait.
Do you remember
No.
when I read that list of things where
I
it
do
was like
remember that.
1 to 10 of kind of levels of
Yeah, I remember that.
defining white people and
whiteness.
where they stood? Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's that
It was like,
with a lot more.
yeah. We did go over that. I sent you that.
Okay.
I sent that to you. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
would.
sorry, not-
I gotta save that. That's interesting. But yeah, so there's this like white supremacy pyramid, and it's that, but it's a pyramid, and then there's all these little like 3 to say 5 word kind of catchphrases. But
And
it's
like-
it's that list, just more kind of shotgun on this pyramid.
I gotcha, sure.
But where I'm going with this is, the suggestion that every white person is, to a degree, a participant in white supremacy. They say Robin DiAngelo, who's white, is like, white people get defensive when you call them a racist. Well, you know what? I do, for a couple of reasons. Whether I'm racist or not, I think a natural reaction to being called something bad is being defensive. Because whether
You're
you
saying I'm
are
a
or
piece of
not,
shit. Yeah.
you don't, you're going to, if you're not, you absolutely don't want to be identified as something you're not because it's bad. And if you are, you don't want to be revealed, so you're going to deny it. So in either case, you're defensive. And, hey, world, there are white people who aren't racist. And
to me,
it's so they're lumping everybody together. And please don't, before you know my history and my family's history and events that may have occurred that I've done proactively in my life, that my parents have done, that I've been taught, until you know me, don't lump me in with a group. And
Yeah.
and everybody as individuals should, just like due process, innocent until proven guilty, right? There are racists, there are white supremacists, there's and everything in between, and there's good people who did and or do good work.
Good people, period. Not, I don't want, like she
I-
says good white people several times in there.
I read an
But,
article. Just a quick tangent, rabbit hole. I read an article in the last month about the Underground Railroad, and It talked about like, history and his story, which pisses me off because this actually comes from, I think, a Greek word, historia, or a Latin, which
What
means
about the first?
anyway.
Go ahead. Yeah, it's got to be Greek. Or Latin.
I lost my train of thought.
I'm sorry, God.
That just the whole story of the Underground Railroad was misrepresented as being, a lot of white Northerners, and I don't know, who was in it and who wasn't, but I don't even want to get into the stereotypical thing, but there were definitely white people who participated in it and put themselves at great risk. So whether they were the majority or minority, I'm not sure that's the point. That was this guy's point. Just fully discounting risks that people took to do the right thing. And that was very disheartening.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. Rabbit hole.
It's okay. Where was I going? I was on my little rant there about the
Sorry I
whole
interrupted.
sociology thing. A lot of this kind of talk, if you just go back and you read this article again, the thing is, the title is Black people have been protesting for centuries, and we need white people to do it. Sorry, if I'm going to give the title, I have to give the title. Black and brown people have been protesting for centuries. It's white people who are responsible for what happens next. And I said that because if you want to look it up and read it several times, I think you'll find that I'm not off base at all in saying that it's a bunch of fucking academia talk for like people who her job, you know what her title is at work? Or just guess where she works. University, obviously.
Does she work at UC Berkeley?
Yeah, she's the executive director of the Center for Social Justice at UC Berkeley School of Law. So,
Yeah. So, I mean, white, black, or otherwise, that has a job description that's very obvious.
she's drowning in frickin' academia, first of all. And to me, the worst part of it, which is that whole like fake science shit, where like social justice, I would say there's an argument to be had for it being a school of law type thing. I don't even know what I'm trying to say here. Like a section of law. That's, I can see that being a study or a subsection or a subcategory under the greater tent that is law. But social justice as a social science just doesn't really, I don't know. It just I think it is bullcrap.
Well, I mean, social justice is or could be a thing that's a subset of another thing, for sure. Yeah. So I think that's okay. And I think that you were kind of saying that.
My point
and you
is,
know what else? I got one thought. So the title in and of itself isn't necessarily bad. It's kind of what follows it that matters.
Yeah.
You know, and so the first few paragraphs, she says, I ambush white kids, which is kind of shitty. And then the rest of it is kind of Robin DiAngelo-esque. You know, a lot of just accusatory, inflammatory, this is my experience, and there's only one way to look at it, and there you go.
Yeah. And
like mic drop.
I want to backtrack.
You know?
Yeah. I want to backtrack on something I said because I'm changing my mind here, but you said that she ambushes white kids. I said, these are law students. Well, how are they dumbfounded and, they draw a blank face? Like, what the hell? That doesn't make sense to me. I don't think that that's actually the case anymore. I think that she's probably not lying, and this does happen, but the reason is just because it's UC Berkeley or whatever liberal fucking place. It's these people are scared to say the wrong thing, which is
they're scared to say anything.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
because they're gonna. I think they're afraid to get pounced on. Yeah.
Um,
Again,
they're-
I go back to, she acknowledges they're committed to, these are her words, they're committed to making racial equity a cornerstone of their work. That's laudable, period.
Yeah.
They're there to get help from her. Like, if they're white, they're like, hey, send me down a path. Help me out here.
I understand that.
Well, first I'm going to fucking put a landmine underneath you and, pull the trigger. Just to get you started.
Again,
just to get you acclimated.
This is just to give you a taste of how the rest of your evening is going to go. White man or whatever you are.
Woman.
Woman. No, well, there's more than two, Chris. But
Or non-binary.
again, I'm going to have to defend her. That's a good way for what her point is. And I'm not defending her point. I'm not saying whatever that should be taught. For what her point is, she's demonstrating that pretty well with her little technique. But yes, it's she's doing it poorly and kind of in to college students an insensitive way. But that's what her point is. It's these people need to learn. And oh my God, you're silent. That's the problem. But
the thing is, I think she knows that it's not something. Maybe this is an aha moment for me. It's not something that, most kids who've graduated, particularly from top law schools, they're going to be rich kids, have thought about.
That's my point of saying.
But why would they?
That was my point in saying I've never considered myself white until you told me that it was like such a fucking thing. But nowadays, kids, I don't know. You go to high school and this whole PC race is a problem and everything that's everywhere now. You can't escape it. So everybody probably has thought about it, but I don't know if I'm running over you right now, stepping on your thoughts.
No. I was just looking out the window. The trees are blowing like crazy. It looks like a storm's moving.
Yeah, I like it. It's cool.
Yeah. No, you weren't stepping on me at all. I think that complimented what I said, but yeah, we're just in this. This is nothing new. It's the rest of the article is nothing new. Like I said, it's so Robin DiAngelo-esque. But the first part, these kids come to me, they're trying to do the right thing, and I accept nebulous answers from non-white kids, and I ambush the white kids, and they're silent, and they're scared. And maybe she doesn't even realize. They're just scared. They're scared that whatever they say, you're going to school them.
Maybe that is, I don't know, we'd have to ask her, but maybe if I was there and I said, because other people tell me, people that care about race, people who seem to be, at least like to think themselves experts on the subject, tell me that I'm white, she'd be like, what the fuck does that mean? She'd be like,
Exactly.
Like, yeah, because black people tell me that I'm white or whatever. I don't know what the...
Or in this racially hypersensitive time, I own a mirror. How can I not know?
Yeah.
How unaware would I be in the world in which we live, in the times in which we live, that I wasn't aware of that? Look at me, right? I got blue eyes and white skin and fucking gray hair. Kind of gray
Hitler's
hair.
Damn dream. Oh, yeah, well, you had brown hair, though. So
I had brown hair. There's still a little in there.
Yeah. You could dye it blonde, though, now if you wanted to be the whole, the Aryan race thing. Yeah.
I'm fine. My blue eyes would get me an Aryan card, along to go with my vaccination card.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Wait, you got yours?
I did.
Let's ditch the article. You got your vaccination. That's cool. How was it?
It's 2 weeks and 2 days. I actually had a friend of a friend is kind of a COVID doctor. He runs urgent care clinics and kind of has made COVID his thing. And he lives in the area. He actually swung by my house and did a blood prick test and did this little instant, I think it's a PCR test. and I tested, according to him, positive for short and long-term COVID antibodies.
Oh, you had it already?
No.
Oh, you're saying after you'd gotten it, you went and got the PCR.
You could have these short and long-term antibodies from COVID or from a vaccination.
I'm sorry. That was. I thought you meant they tested you prior to having your vaccine.
No.
I totally blanked for a
2
second.
ways, 2 weeks after.
Yeah.
And J&J apparently gets like stronger and stronger up to 4 weeks and maybe even longer. So,
Well, dude, that's awesome. You're invincible now. So how do you feel about it? Are you like, that's probably not what you're thinking, but
well, I'm going out this weekend with somebody to an outside bar and having fucking food and drinks, which I haven't done
That's awesome.
in 15 months.
yeah, Jesus.
Yeah. So I'm not feeling invincible. I mean, it's the J&J vaccine, so I'm not sure if it's less efficacious than the mRNAs. You can't know just because it's different study, different time, different group. But they had 0 people hospitalized, and it's 85% effective against like severe infections. So
Yeah,
I'm
that's awesome.
somewhat protected. Oh, where I was going to go with this is like if I go in a store, I'll still wear a mask, but I will go into stores with a mask
That's awesome.
because there's still people getting infected. This guy, he got vaccinated in I think like December's time frame, back when medical workers, and he said he said I would guess around 5,000. He said I've been in front of / exposed to around 5,000, infected COVID patients.
Yeah. That's a lot.
Uh,
a lot of
that's
exposure.
a lot. Yeah, he said if you run an urgent care clinic, it's been a great year.
Oh, dude, and they charge because they do a weird copay thing with your insurance. It's like the insurance doesn't pay shit, and it's $130 cash or whatever the fuck, or that's the copay or whatever. It's just like, bing bang boom.
Yeah, he said it was something like 60 times his busiest year prior or something
Wow.
crazy like that. He said, yeah, you
Well, I
wouldn't
walked
believe it.
in-
He's like, people would get the sniffles and come to the clinic to get tested for COVID. Now, unless I were concerned about my health, I'd be like, that's the last fucking place I'm going.
In a room full of a bunch of other people who
Yeah.
yeah. I walked in when when this girl that I was talking to had COVID. I went to get tested afterwards, for a little bit, because my dad was worried, so I was like, all right, I'll get tested at the urgent care. Walked in, they're like, we're out of test for the day. It's 1:00. We opened at 11 or whatever. We
Wow.
don't have any more. Come back at 1, or come back at 2:00 to see if we have more.
Wow.
And I was like, fuck that. It was jam packed. It was full of people, and I was like, I'll just go.
When was this?
I don't want to be here. Shit.
You know you can buy them at the drugstore now, right? $20 for 2.
Tests?
Yeah.
What about antibody tests?
No, because you got to do blood.
Where do I get that? Oh,
You got to do blood. I don't think they're going to sell that
Well-
to the public.
fuck. I want that so bad. I just want to know.
Go to your doctor. They'll do it. They'll do it all day long.
Yeah, but that's like a whole thing. I don't want to go to the doctor just to figure it out.
It's a whole thing.
God, I'm so
It's
much
gonna
like
take
my
an
dad.
hour.
Jesus.
It's going to take an
Yeah,
hour out of my
seriously,
life.
it's so much time. That's
This
so much
guy will
time.
do it.
it.
This guy will come
This guy?
test you for sure.
How much did you pay?
Well, I don't know if he did. He's a friend of a friend. I'll send him a
Oh.
text and say, I got a buddy. Will you make another house call?
So, hey, I do a show with this guy. Yeah, that'd be sweet.
He'll want your insurance info though. I mean, he took
I'll
my
give it to him.
took
It's
my
not-
insurance card. But yeah, I don't know if he lives
noticed
around.
my-
He lives in Southfield, so he'd probably do
Oh.
it. I'll text him tonight.
My doctor would be like, fuck that, I'm not doing it. He's the kind of doctor, my GP, is just like the kind of guy who's like, we're not doing tests unless there's something wrong with you. Like, you could be like, doctor, I want to know what's wrong, what my vitals are. And he'd be like, no, that's a waste. We're not doing it because you're healthy.
I've dealt with an infectious disease guy, And he's like, we treat, if you don't have symptoms that convince me you're sick, you're not getting treated.
That's how my family doctor is. Yeah, he's
You know,
he's a good doctor. Don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah, I
He's
think
been-
this
he's
guy's doing
been
the right
treating me
thing.
since I was 4 years old.
Yeah.
It was funny to talk to him about certain issues that I'm having now that I'm older. Not when I was a little kid, being like, "Oh my God, he's gonna look at my wee wee," And now it's like, Jesus, now this guy knows freaking everything about me. He's my buddy. Now I want him to look at it. I'm like, well, come on, tell me what's going on. There was just an interesting transition.
Exchange.
Yeah. Well, it was an interesting in my mind, because I don't know. Realizing the importance of that, and that he's not a scary guy. He's there to help you. You know. That's an important. I was always shy. Oh my God.
Most
That's what he's there
doctors,
for.
particularly GPs, because they don't make nearly as much money as guys who specialize in a hell of a lot of different things.
Yeah. He's a good guy. Anyway, vaccine. Should I do it? Should I not do it? Part of me just wants to be like, 60 years from now, never got the vaccine, all these, everyone else in my generation. It's like my dad with getting the registration updated on the car, just see how long you can go.
That's a call you got to make,
Yeah.
I wanted the J&J, and then the blood clot thing came up, and I looked at the data and weighed, and I'm less leery about mRNA now than I was. Have you ever watched that Dr. Bean guy?
No, but I am aware of a little bit the difference in the mRNA functionality, I should say.
Yeah.
Or the uncertainty of the mRNA functionality that makes it.
Yeah, but there's also the way he explained it is, it's not. The way he explained it is, if it's injected into your bloodstream, that's a different thing because then it's in your system. But he's like, it's getting injected into muscle tissue, and what doesn't get processed is going to get attacked by our immune system as just foreign particles and destroyed. And he's like, my scientific mind says it's not risky.
Oh, really? They just shove it in your arm instead of in a vein? I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, it's just a regular shot.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
So he's like, what doesn't get dealt with as, a viral response in an mRNA, recognized as an mRNA message that your ribosomes should, produce this protein, is just going to get looked at as a foreign object and get swept away by your immune system. It's funny, they talked about there's just so much shit going on in your body that you got all these different cells that are garbage men that just attack shit, destroy it, turn it into junk, and then, it goes through your liver, kidneys, depending, and gets washed away.
And you shit it out. Yeah.
The human, yeah. Yep. One of the reasons you're supposed to drink a lot of water. But yeah, the human
Yeah, I've been
body's
doing,
fucking amazing.
A few of these bad boys a day. I feel really good. I got this nice Yeti, which I used to joke about. I was like, Yeti's for trashy people, but it's really nice.
They make good
fill
stuff.
this thing up, drink 3 or 4 of those in a day. It's awesome.
Yep. Well, we're over an hour.
Damn straight.
Are you thinking about getting vaccinated?
No, it's not even on my mind at all. I go into places without a mask now, and I don't tell you that because I know that you would ridicule me for it. But
Well, right now, we're approaching 50% of the people are vaccinated. Probably somewhere between 10 and 25 or 30% of people have had COVID. We're probably damn close to herd immunity. The thing is, what's the durability of this immunity? Are we gonna be all feel safe in October and November, then have a total fucking spike next winter? Because I will tell you, if they suggest boosters, I'm getting a booster.
That'd
not-
be cool. Summertime, sunlight, that's good, right?
Yep.
That'll be a big help. But for me, it's just that like I'm not really scared of it. You know, I'm 20. I don't have like I do have the thalassemia thing, which I found out was a technically pre-existing condition for the. And we talked about this, I think, maybe 2 episodes ago.
Yeah.
But it increased risk for death from COVID, because I'm weak. But I'm not like scared of it. And then the mask thing, I just like I bought 3 nice ones. They were like little black ones instead of the cloth ones you just fucking throw away. And I like lost all of them, so I just am like, fuck it now. It's not because I'm like trying to prove a point or anything. I'm like, I don't have one. Whatever.
Well, if you get vaccinated, you can sit there. If you don't, I'm not doing it. I'm not sitting in an itty bitty
Okay.
room with you.
That's fair. Okay. Well, that I mean, that's the biggest incentive for me to get it, so I might as well get it now.
I don't want to twist your arm. I mean, if in 30
Well, no,
years
it's
I'm
not-
pushing
you're
up
giving me a
daisies
choice.
and I'm pushing up daisies and you're growing tumors and you fucking curse me.
Say, all right, it's a fair trade. Growing tumors. Oh my God, that's the worst way that I've heard it put yet. But that's like exactly what the fear is, right?
Well, that's what the Brett Weinstein and Heather
No, yeah,
Hing,
that's.
they're like,
I haven't heard it put that artistically yet, but
what if I'm pushing up daisies and you're growing tumors?
growing tumors is a horrible. I do not like the thought of that at all. Yes, I don't want 20 years from now to have those unknown side effects, unforeseen.
Right.
But,
What's that movie I
yeah,
try
I'd
to
like to
think
be in the
of
studio.
with Arnold Schwarzenegger? Total Recall. Where
I never
people
saw
are.
the original, but I saw.
It's not a very good movie. It was
I
then.
saw the remake.
It won't hold up. Anyway. All right. Let's ask the 8-ball a question. Uh-oh. Charlie's locked up. Oh, you're back.
Oh, we're back. Cool. I was like, damn. Well, maybe that's a sign that we should end it. You have a question for the 8-ball?
I do. Is immunity acquired from COVID and or vaccinations going to carry us through wintertime and keep us reasonably healthy in terms of COVID?
It is certain.
Really?
Boom. Look at that. It is certain. I like that. Yeah.
I was going to throw an asterisk in there
Oh.
and say,
It was already getting kind of complex for the 8-ball to comprehend.
yeah.
Even though it is all powerful and all knowing.
Yeah, I think we're going to be looking at boosters. So that's probably, that would be
Boosters are
included
good,
in
though.
vaccination.
Get one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. That's
Cool.
great news. That's like the best news I've heard all day.
Sure.
Thanks, 8-ball. Yeah.
Thanks, 8-ball.
Yeah. That was a fun one. Let's punch out.
Let's punch out some tunes to punch out.
Yeah.
Blue Sky Blues.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching and listening. Thanks, Chris. Cry.
Thanks, Charlie. Oh. Oh.
Thanks, Charlie.
You're welcome.
Fade out, Charlie. Fade out, Chris. Hey, did it right. What do you know?
Hey, look at that.
Hey, there's a band.